Happy Friday. I wanted to send out a quick follow up to my service this past Sunday. Our Sunday service asked the question, are we really supposed to love our enemies? And the sermon was basically answering yes, that should be our aspiration. But nothing in our service really touched on how we do that. And I know many of you were talking about that afterwards. Some of you came to speak to me, and there's certainly enough for us to chew on there that that'll probably be a service in the fall. Our summer services are already planned out. But yeah, we should go deeper with that. But I wanted to give you a couple of thoughts since it will be a while before we can dig into that again together. And I know what many of us had on our hearts this week, especially, that Sunday service was political things that had been in the news and have maybe been on our hearts for the last several years or longer. I just wanted to give you some things to think about as you wrestle with this question. And the first is, it is okay that we don't always live up to our aspirations. I think as Unitarian Universalists, we're very action-oriented, and that living our values and our ideals is an important part of our spiritual practice, of our ways of living our faith. And the teaching to love your enemies is a high aspirational teaching. And you may feel like you did it for one situation and then something else will come up. So it's not as simple as deciding to recycle or getting solar panels or those kinds of things we do that are living our values in the world. But this is more an internal wrestling that's, it's a lifelong pursuit. So I wanted to name that. It's not a switch we flip inside ourselves, and all of our what I call our ugly feelings. I'm sort of also interrogating, is that the right phrase? but that's what I use for myself, those unpleasant feelings. So I wanted to name that. The second thing is that I want you. I think that for many of us, especially in our social media world, but we read something or hear something and we have a quick flippant response, snarky, mean, whatever, however we want to characterize it. And then, we sort of go on with our day. I think for most of us, if we slow down and we're actually having tuning into our feelings or having a conversation with someone, that we can drop into a more meaningful place where we realize that our snarkiness or our meanness, those feelings that bubble up, that behind them are things like a yearning for justice, a yearning for the world to be a better place, a yearning for Nazis not to exist in the United States, anger about the flourishing of transphobia and racism. And so, I think part of what I'll look at more deeply in a full service is what is hatred? What is that feeling, and how do we differentiate it from other feelings we might have, like anger and justice seeking? But off the top of my head, I think that there's a mindlessness to an emotion that is really just hate, and that's not really what most of us experience, even when we're feeling like we don't feel good about some people who are in the news. So I wanted to name that, and I think many of us, I haven't polled us, but even when we think deeper about some people who have done very harmful things in the world, we can find our compassion for someone who doesn't appear to have much love in their life. Someone who's, sort of hurting is so destructive and so harmful to so many people. I think one of the things that makes us Unitarian Universalists is a real appreciation for this life, right? We don't spend our time talking about the afterlife or rewards after we die. We find this life to be beautiful and full of love and wonder and beautiful things. And so we can grieve for people who seem disconnected with what's wonderful about this life, and people for whom their life falls far short of what it might have in helping contribute to making the world a better place. So, yeah, I think if we slow down and interrogate our feelings, we find that they are more complex than just sort of flashes of hate and anger that we may feel just as we're going about our day and we see things pop up in the news. And then the third thing that I want to invite you to think about, and I do all the time, remember there's a wisdom story. It's often attributed to Native American culture, though I don't know that there's any proof of that, and I'm not sure that the teaching aligns with with much in Native American culture. But the wisdom story is about two wolves, and a young person asking an elder, there are two wolves inside of me. One is full of rage and hate and anger and jealousy. The other one is full of joy, generosity, courage, humility. And these wolves are at war with each other. Which one will win? And the elder replies, the one that you feed. So yeah, I just encourage you to take that teaching to heart. We have lots of different ways that we can spend our time during the day. And we may not, I don't know that we have that much choice in how we feel, but we certainly have have a lot of choice in how much time we spend on activities that elicit those feelings in us. Whether it's spending time on social media, maybe talking with friends who this kind of gets stirred up, we can make changes to say, like, I don't want to talk about this, especially things that are in the court of law. We're trying to hold that balance between being informed and, making ourselves sort of sick, I would say, in staying plugged in to information that we don't have say over. So, we vote, but we don't, there's some things you don't need to read and invite into your life every single day of the week. So, to think about how you want to spend your energy during the week. One of the things that I have found very helpful recently is not just to think in terms of, is this how I want to spend my time? But I think, are these people I want to spend my time with? So on the internet, I'm thinking, are the people in this internet space, in this conversation, are these people I want to spend time with? Are these people I want to have in my home, right? The internet comes into our home. Are these people I want to hang out with for this period of time that I'm reading whatever it is, or sharing whatever news, or digging in? So, think about the practices you have that feed. And, if you have circles of friends where it can feel good to commiserate, for sure. But, talk together, maybe set some intention around it. Like, let's give ourselves 10 minutes to talk about the news, and then let's set a timer. And then we're going to talk about other things. So to be aware of how much of your energy you're giving to things that we don't have a lot of control over, especially in the political realm. We may all be struggling with different kinds of questions, and there are things much closer to home, but actually the issues are the same. If you have friends or family member who elicit these feelings in you, setting boundaries about how often you see someone or how much time you spend is important. And just sort of the last little subset of this third point, be aware of how we're spending our energy. What many of us resent in what Donald Trump has brought to our country is the feeling that something about him sort of opened Pandora's box, whatever the phrasing we might use, right? Sort of touched in people an ugliness and unleashed it that was a surprise to many of us, and something that still feels baffling. But we need to be cautious about that. Same thing has happened for us, right? He's opened something ugly in us. Our Pandora's box has been open. Our ugly feelings of of hate or distrusting other people. It looks different on in our world, but it's the same. Something in us has been opened up and unleashed, and the struggle of our country is to take back. I'm thinking for a moment, like, how much control do I think we have over our feelings? Again, we can't control what we're feeling, but we can control what we do with our feelings and how much time we spend in activities that stir those feelings up. So, let's not give in to our hate and anger and all of those feelings. Let's take our feelings and, volunteer at Haven House. Put a rainbow flag outside your house. Let's get to work making the world a better place, and recognize we don't have to go live our anger and hate out in the world. We can recognize when those bubble up, observe them, and then make a choice about how we spend our time. So I hope some of this is helpful in processing what we talked about last week, and I look forward to having more and deeper conversations with you as we go on. I love when what we talk about on Sunday really has relevance for your life and is something we can really dig into, and I love being on this journey with you. One last thing, if you're coming on Sunday, please bring a flower, or if you have a garden, bring a few flowers. Every year for flower ceremony, I worry that there won't be enough flowers, so I've come to kind of treasure that feeling since we had years where we couldn't have in-person flower ceremony. So it's that time of year to worry about, will we have enough flowers again? I hope to see you on Sunday. If I don't, I hope you have a lovely Father's Day, Juneteenth, summer solstice, Pride Month, all of the things. Blessings and love to each of you.